Hey guys, so welcome to the Fitness Business Authority podcast. This is episode 8, and today we have Emma Van Heusen. Is that how you pronounce it, Emma?
You've 10 out of 10, yeah, that's how you say it.
Brilliant. So Emma works with fitness professionals and also e-commerce businesses, and she is a bit of a Facebook ads expert. So do you want to say hi, Emma? Introduce yourself and basically tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Emma. I run an agency that predominantly specializes in health, fitness, PT, play around quite a lot in that space, and also with e-com, which is a very different bag. So when I'm working with health and fitness, a lot of it is around lead generation. E-com is obviously ultimately selling straight off your ads. So very, very different types of funnels. My background is I was mentored by Facebook's global strategy team. So I worked alongside their team for 6 months, where I really kind of got to understand the inner workings of how Facebook's algorithm works. And I think for me, that's been the key thing that has helped my business grow. And for me to be able to get results for people is understanding how that algorithm influences every moving part of how well your Facebook ads are going to perform. So I have clients that are very local, pretty small, some of them, up to franchises. So I play in multiple spaces, really. The one thing they all have in common is that they understand the power of Facebook ads and how well they can put a fire up, a flame under their business and really get some traction. So, and it's great that that space is opening up to more and more people now. So I love health and fitness, and I think once you have a sense of your audiences and you've got great content, you can really, really get good traction with what you're doing. And I'm seeing great results with my clients, and some of them are even being able to understand and take the learnings that I'm doing and DIY it, which is great if they can take what I've done, get their funnels up, and then start to be able to work on them themselves. That to me is a great result, because I love teaching and coaching, and that's a big part of what I do now. Is I coach people on an online program on how to use Facebook ads in their business, and get the results, particularly in the lead gen space. And that's proving a really, really popular way that people want to access Facebook ads now and take that control and ownership and be able to do it themselves. It's a very, very dark art, though, to do it well. And I think that's the difference. And it takes time, which is why a lot of people don't ultimately want to do it like that also, because it's can be a full-time job. When you're spending your money, you want to make sure that you're spending it wisely.
So yeah, let's talk about lead generation, because for me, lead generation is the lifeblood of any fitness business. And to do it right with Facebook ads it is a skilled process. You need to know what you're doing. So here's what I'd like to ask. I want to know is what do you see people doing wrong? What are the biggest mistakes that you see fitness businesses make when it comes to their lead generation using Facebook ads?
I think the key mistake, you can have a really good offer, but if you've put it in front of the wrong people, it is totally irrelevant. So I see lots of ads, because one of the things I also do is I audit people's accounts and help them to understand why they haven't performed very well. And one of the key things I see is they don't understand about targeting. And, when you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody, because your offer is not dialed in to your people. And that's the difference between a good ad and an absolute stonker, is one that's highly, highly targeted with something very relevant to them. And there are also other things that then come into play around, the anatomy of a high performing ad and how to write really great copy and imagery and all that stuff. But the key mistake, I think, is in targeting.
Yeah, I agree with that. I used an example in my book actually about if you were a whiskey manufacturer and you put your ad in front of teetotalers, it does not matter how good your copy is or how good your advert is. They're just not going to buy it because it's the wrong audience. So I guess that you can get away a little bit with having poor copy, and if your offer's not amazing, if you get it in front of the right audience, it'll make a difference every time.
Absolutely. You can have, a C grade ad, in terms of copy and creative, but if you've dialed into an A grade audience, it will work. It won't work the other way around.
So any tips that you can give us in terms of what you do to help people find the right audience? I mean, definitely, we recommend that fitness businesses should have a very clear niche or a niche if you're living in the States. But is there anything that you can recommend on how to actually hone in and find that audience?
I try and recommend that, well, obviously you have to really drill down into your customer personas. And it might be that you have more than one. Some businesses will have multiple personas because they have different people that come to their gym or their yoga classes in the day than they do in the evening. So you might have 3. I work with some people that have 9 customer personas. And then you have to drill down to see how can you build your audiences to target those specific people. And there is a very handy tool which I tell my online group training program people to use, called Audience Insights, which is a tool that sits in Ads Manager, super easy to find under all tools, and that will give you hours of rabbit holes to go down if you're not careful. But it's a really clever way of being able to understand how to target people. You've got the usual suspects that you can have in there, like health and fitness or health and wellness and weightlifting or this, that and the other. But you've got to remember that if you're playing in that space, we're all plugging in those targeting options. So you're playing in a very crowded marketplace. But if you can find a way of talking to those customers by finding out what else they're interested in and targeting that instead, then you can almost swerve the crowded marketplace and play in a very different space where your CPM, your overall cost to deliver your ads, can come down because you're not competing for the same people in the same way.
Yeah, something that we see a lot on, especially from big box gyms and especially the more commercial gyms. And I think if they changed the way that they did things, they would be even more successful. So if you take the gym I go to, for example, I think it's the biggest gym in Europe. It's got 10,000 members. So they don't necessarily need new members, but if you have a gym that's like that, if you look at the different demographics that go to the gym in the day, you got the busy professionals who go first thing in the morning and then you go to work. You've got the mums who go to their classes after they've dropped the kids off at school. That's probably 9:30 till 11. And then you've got the pensioners, the older people who come in and they do the water aerobics and the non-impact stuff probably in the afternoon. And then you've got the people who are coming home from work, and then you've got the weekend people. You've got maybe 7 or 8 different demographics. And for me, it would be way more beneficial rather than advertising the way the gyms usually advertise is with benefits like no joining fee and we've got the best equipment and look at our big empty gym with all this shiny stuff. What if they were to actually advertise certain parts of what they do to those markets? So let's say the busy mums who've just dropped their kids off who want to come and do a spin class. What if the benefit was you can come and do spin classes and get fitter faster? What if the benefits for the older people were come and do some non-impact work?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm working now. I'm building out. We're doing it as a messenger bot, actually, but we're building out lead gen for that downtime in the gyms when, you know, there's lots of empty equipment hanging around. There aren't so many people in there. So we have built some customer personas around, well, who are the people that go in the day? And they are exactly the people that you have just said. And we will then, what we call rapid fire test very quickly which of those audiences works well, and we will focus our attention on that segment and see if we can get traction in lead generation. And once we do, we will then move and see if we can tweak stuff to get other types of people in. So you've got multiple segments that you're testing, but you might be testing them one at a time and work on the one that is what I would call your low-hanging fruit, which is what you need to do if you don't have a lot of budget, because you need to very, very quickly find out what's working and focus your efforts on that. So you very quickly go down from 9, you know, personas down to, well, let's concentrate on the mums, because they in our quick test over 3 days seem to be the most interested. So let's shift our budget to that and test it for a month, and let's see what happens. So yeah, dialed in, you know, really chomping down into who your people are is absolutely critical to Facebook ads. And I would question anyone in their business, you know, if you don't really understand who your customers are, you might not have much of a business there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not a one size fits all. Very, very different. You know, I know from my experience in Pilates, for example, work a lot with Pilates studios. All sorts of different people go there, and they go there for different reasons. And you need to understand why they're there. You know, they're not, some are there because they want long, lean muscles. Some are there because they're worried they're getting older and they're starting to seize up, and they realize that flexibility and core strength is really important when you start hitting your 50s, for example. So for me, that understanding of your audiences, being able to put the right ad in front of them with the right message, if you get those moving parts right, there's no reason why your ad shouldn't work.
And how important do you think that using video to create a custom audience is to try and even get your ads in front of the people who you know are already interested because you know they've watched the videos?
Well, retargeting plays with video can work really well. What you need to factor into that is you need to break them down into the percentage of time that people have watched the video, because what I see lots of people doing is retargeting the people who've watched, say, triggered 3 seconds. Now that is an autoplay. That means nothing. There aren't levels of engagement on that you would consider that person has any idea who your brand is. You're really after the 50%ers or more. Now, you need to have quite a lot of budget to be able to build up a decent size audience to be able to then retarget those 50% or more. If not, maybe I would test out the 10 seconds, but you really are, and obviously to a degree, it depends on the length of the video. But once you start looking and pooling off, you know, who is the ones who are highly engaged, the 50%ers, you need to have enough people in that pot to be able to retarget them. Otherwise, you're very limited with the options that you can use. But as a retargeting play, video can be highly effective, but only if you have enough, you're feeding enough people into the video views play to make it work.
Yeah.
Because what I often see happen is that people will then retarget with lead gen, conversions, for example, for a lead, and that part of the algorithm will not work if you do not have people in it. It works in a very, very different way, and ultimately it needs lots of data to work well. To allow Facebook to back for you, you need to have big audience to do that.
Yeah, I've been listening to some other podcasts and some other guys in the industry, and the numbers that they're coming up with is to allow Facebook to work its algorithm, you need 50 conversions or 50 leads per week from the same ad set.
Absolutely. In a 7-day time frame, you
Yeah,
need 50. Yeah, not off the pixel in total, off of the individual ad
yeah,
sets. Having said that, you might not need that volume, because what happens is you need to have a decent. I wouldn't recommend using conversions if you don't have really big audiences. And by that, really, you're talking hundreds of thousands. However, I have tested them. I have tested them on small audiences of, say, 10,000, just to see, can I get the conversions? Because let's face it, some people don't need 50 conversions a week. They may not. And Facebook is not saying you won't get the conversions. It's just the algorithm will not be able to optimize properly unless you have that sort of data, which is Facebook saying we can't back for you at our optimum levels if we don't have the data. What you have to factor into that is when Facebook's algorithm starts going out hunting for people, it will ultimately start hunting for the low-hanging fruit. So it will pick off quite quickly. I don't know, Liam, if you've seen this when you run your conversion campaigns. You sometimes get a spike of conversions right in the beginning.
yeah.
And that is Facebook picking off its low-hanging fruit.
I usually find it on day 4.
Yeah.
Always
Yeah.
day 4. So I run some ads for a personal training company near where I live. I do recruitment ads for them, and I got a text message off the guy who owns it today saying, "Oh, we had loads of applications yesterday. What have you done differently?" And I had a look at the stats, and it was basically day 4, and we had a traffic jump, and we had a conversion jump, and
Mm-hmm.
we had a CTR jump, and that seems to be for me the day that Facebook's algorithm kicks in, and they pull everything together, and then usually you'll find there'll be a slow, steady decline from there.
Yeah.
Because as
Yeah.
you said, it's picked off the low hanging fruit to begin with.
Yeah. And it switches mode. It goes into a different mode. Once it's hunted those people down, it has to go into search mode and really, really start to look at the digital footprint of these people and, their propensity to take that expected action. So conversions can work in some instances because of that, because you get enough of a spike, actually, as long as the quality of them is good, to start to get the results that you need. But there are other objectives that I'd also would test out on a small audience, really, really small audience, is to get conversions, which isn't using the conversion objective. I would be quite tempted if you're looking at sub 1,000. If you've got a pot of sub 1,000 people in it, the only objectives you can really use are reach or page post engagement.
Yeah.
And I find page post engagement, I don't know about you, Liam, can be highly effective. It doesn't need, it can work really well on small budgets and small audiences. And if you're a local business, it can be your friend.
Do you know why I like page post engagement? Because you can then retarget engagement people.
Exactly. And it can be very, if you get a high performing ad with page post engagement, Facebook loves the engagement objective. It's its favorite objective because that's what the platform is all about. So, if you're a business playing in with a local market, I would say don't overlook the power of page post engagement, especially if you're talking to small audiences. Even if it says, this audience is too small, you will get traction with PPE and reach. But reach, without boring on about the algorithm, works in a very different way. And I wouldn't necessarily you might not see the results you want. It's very hard to measure it in those terms using reach. So I would definitely be focusing my efforts on page post engagement.
Yes, I mean we had a bit of a chat before we hit record on this today. We were talking about the sort of 3 levels of Facebook ad that we use, and it was built around like it's not around know, like, and trust, and it was awareness. Stage number one, you have to have people be aware of your business, what you do, how you help them, and then you have stage two, which is engagement, and then stage three, which is where you ask for some sort of a conversion, whether it's a lead magnet or whether it's a trial or whatever it is. So that would be the three stages of ads that we would run. Obviously, we know you need a bigger audience to do that, and probably a bigger budget. So what would you do, or how does it work for you when you're running to a small audience? Let's say we're a local gym. What would be your, let's call it a funnel, I guess?
I'd go straight out for conversions.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked with personal trainers on a really small budget of 250 quid, and they had 6,000, nearly 7,000 pounds in sales in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Going straight out to cold traffic. So this funnel thing is, you know, I think we were talking about this earlier, Liam. It's everyone thinks they need a funnel. They don't realize that you need budget to do that. You need quite a lot of budget, because you might have multiple ads multiple campaigns running at once with multiple ad sets in them. So very quickly you're spanking 50 quid a day. Because if you can't feed the funnel, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because, you know, a funnel only works if you've got cold traffic coming in enough volume to make the rest of it crank properly to give you the result that you need. So sometimes I'll buck the trend and just think, do you know what? I'm going to go straight out for a lead. I'm going to dial it in. I'm not going to do a warm up because there isn't enough budget to play with that, and see. Sometimes it works.
And you leave it
really well.
You leave it to Facebook to decide who to show the ad in front of, because we had a talk about targeting earlier. So obviously to get someone to convert, you need to get the right offer in front of the right person.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I find is working very well for what we do at the minute is to actually not do any targeting and just let Facebook choose the audience.
And keep it really broad.
Yeah, keep it really broad. So don't go for people who are interested in weight loss or Weight Watchers or men's health or men's fitness. If it's men that you're targeting, just put men in your town edge between 18 and 40 or whatever your age range is. And then Facebook's algorithm probably know your audience better than you do. So let them put the ad in front of the people who they think are most likely to click on it and convert.
Yeah, what I would normally do in that instance is I might dial it in first, see if I can get some traction on engagement on that ad.
Yeah.
You know, once I can see what's called social proofing, which is like a whole nother thing. But in essence, if I can see that my ad's got lots of positive comments, likes, shares, etc., I will then run the same ad with all that aggregated social proof to a much broader audience, because then it has more standout in the newsfeed. And then I'm running one actually right now, which initially was it's to men between the ages of 38 and say 58. I can't remember off the top of my head. Dialed in, first of all, got the likes, comments and shares on it. And now I've opened it right up and kept it really broad. And it's sustained the click-through rates, the relevancy scores and the leads. Would it have worked if I'd gone straight out broad? Possibly. But I have no idea. But I know that people are starting to see they can go a bit broader with their targeting, as long as the ad is very specific, because then you're self-identifying in the newsfeed that this ad is for you in the way that you call out the people that you're talking to. Yeah. So that is, you know, then lends itself into being able to understand how to write high converting copy.
Rule number one, call out your audience.
Yeah, let them self-identify. Are you an XYZ? Yes, I am. This ad must be for me. And you need to, these people, when they read it, they need to think it's written for them.
Yeah.
And that's when you hook people in, you know, totally hook someone in when they look at it and think, wow, this person, it's like they're talking exactly to me. Because you start to, even if you don't know that brand, you have a certain feeling that they kind of get you. And that means you have quite quick affinity with them because you feel like they're on the same page as you and they can actually offer you something valuable or some service or some product which is going to meet your pain point. You know, it's all problem and solution based. So absolutely, I would test out broad targeting in that instance if I had copy that I thought super dialed in, self-identifying copy.
Do you tend to keep people on Facebook and use the internal lead generation tools that Facebook provide, or are you more likely to take people off onto a website and get their lead gen from the website? What do you find is working for you at the minute?
At the moment, I've got a mixture of both. One, because I feel where they wanted to send them wasn't going to work. They wanted to send them to their website. Their website is not optimized for mobile. I just knew as soon as we kicked them over to it, we were going to lose them. Yes. So I have kept them on using the lead gen. What you have to be careful of is sometimes, and not always, but sometimes you get the volume of leads, but you don't get the quality because it's much easier, because it self-populates, which is amazing. Yeah. That also can work against you because it's so easy for people to give their details over that they're not really that interested. They're not as interested as you want them. They're not as qualified. Whereas if you run for conversions, I tend to find that the cost per lead, not always, but can be a bit higher, but often the quality of them is better. So, but ultimately with lead gen, it is a little bit of a numbers game.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of it comes down to how well you are at selling your business. You know, if you can get the right people through the door, but you're not good at selling and giving them a great experience, it's an absolute waste of time. So, or getting back to leads within their warm time frame.
Yeah,
is another thing. I've written a whole PDF on, for gym people, which is do not run Facebook ads unless you've got the following boxes ticked, because it won't work. You are wasting your money. So don't do it. I think it's called something like, why your latest Facebook ad campaign was a total disaster.
What we'll do is we'll put a link in the show notes to that so people can go on and download.
Yeah, and it's all about lead gen. And if you don't have these things in place, please just don't do it. Because I'll tell you what, I see so many people just wasting their money. With Zuckerberg, he's not a gazillionaire for nothing. There are a lot of people who you just think, do you know what, if you just had a few systems in place, or you understood more about what ads to be running, your business would probably be booming. You'd have a steady pipeline of clients coming your way.
And following up on leads fast as well is vital. I mean, we've had clients that we've run ads for, and 2 days later they still haven't followed up with the lead.
No, and they don't follow just because they didn't answer that email or they didn't pick up the phone. Some people need 8 touch points. Yeah. You almost need that person to say, do not contact me again. Sometimes people just need to be pushed into it. No matter how keen they are, they need you to tell them that this is what they need to do. And that comes from persistence. You don't just send out an email. I mean, I don't work with businesses like this anymore because it just drove me insane, where they would say, oh, well, I've emailed them and they haven't gotten back to me. Go back. You've got their telephone number. Ring them.
They've reached out to you. This is what I tell our clients. I say, these guys have given you their email, the phone number, and they're like, well, I sent them a text message, but they didn't reply. I'm like, you've got their phone number. Give them a call. So they've reached out to you. They've reached out to you. They want help.
Yeah.
You're in a position to help them. So you are doing them a disservice by not following up on them.
You are. And if you haven't got time, if you say you don't have the time to ring these people, well, your business is obviously doing pretty well then, If you haven't got 2 minutes to just, leave a message for somebody. I was on a call with Facebook not that long ago where they were talking about the conversion rates are so much higher. And I think in one instance, they were saying 80%. If you can get back to that person within an hour of the lead coming in.
I was down in London at Facebook's head office about 4 weeks ago, and this was exactly what they said. If you can get back to a lead within the first hour of them filling in a form on your website, 80% higher.
Yeah, that's what they said to me. Absolutely. That's coming straight out of Facebook. They have a lot of data to pull on. So you need to have systems in place to be able to do that. And okay, if the lead comes in the middle of the night, I personally don't run what's called day parting and scheduling because I think it messes with the optimization. But that person equally, just do it in the morning. Do it in the morning when you get up. Just that is your priority. If you can't prioritize filling up your pipeline with clients, surely that's the number one priority for all businesses that rely on lead gen. It's the number one goal is to just have them lined up ready so that you don't have to worry about who's coming through the doors. They're just coming.
Brilliant. Absolutely love it. So what you find that's working in terms of images on ads? Because I think that too many fitness businesses get it wrong. So things like pictures of equipment.
Empty gyms.
Empty studios.
Funny photography with really badly lit. Yeah, I can't tell you the amount of images that I get sent of an empty gym. It's just bizarre. I mean, who wants to come to a gym when there's nobody there? You don't want to be queuing up for the equipment, but you want to think there's a bit of a buzz. I find showing images of the people that work there, especially leading on personality, because a gym, to a degree, the picture of a gym is a picture of a gym. You have to find what is it about your gym that makes people want to come. And if that's because you have a really, really friendly team, show your really, really friendly team. Show your customers there look like they're having a good time. People like looking at people. You've got to think about the platform. People are used to in a newsfeed looking at pictures of people. And sometimes if it's shot almost on your iPhone, they can work really well because it makes sense in the newsfeed. It doesn't look out of place. It kind of looks like they should already know something about these people because they look like normal people in their newsfeed. So I find we've been doing a lot of testing with something which is, not a high-end production values photography. It's nicely lit, so it doesn't look dingy, but it's real images of people. And slideshows can work really well too.
You mean carousel ads?
No, like when you cycle through a series of images, it works a little bit like video, so you can retarget people. So it's another great way to build up retargeting audiences in the same way as video views if you don't have any decent video.
What are you using to make those? Adobe Spark, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no. That's if I'm doing videos. With slideshows, you build them straight off of Ads Manager. You just put in all your images. You can put music. You can put different fades on it, and it will just cycle through. And I found those have worked really well. Not with all my clients. And sometimes I can't really think of a rhyme or reason why they work better with some clients, not others, because they might have similar audiences. But, the key thing about Facebook is you never stop testing. Never. That's the beauty of it. You test, something doesn't work, you can just turn it off.
And no matter how good you are at doing this, you just never know. This is sometimes we'll write an ad and we'll think it's brilliant. This is going to convert like gangbusters. and it bombs.
Absolutely. I know, it's extraordinary. And you're just like, wow. And then you throw up some pretty lame image that your client's like, no, I want to test this. You're thinking, this really? And it knocks it out of the park.
Yeah.
No, the best Facebook marketers, they'll even say, you know, those ones that are our gurus who we all think are amazing, will say that you can never call it. You just can't, which is why the testing process is so important. Because also something that worked when you ran it 6 months ago might not work now.
Yeah. And I would say that at least no matter how good you are, and if you're listening to this and you're doing your own ads, this is something that you should take a little bit of heart from, is that even if you're amazing at doing Facebook ads, at least 80% of your ads will fail.
Yeah.
And the key is to basically get that 20% and then scale it as fast as you can, because you know that's going to work.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key thing, is that, you know, when I look at most campaigns, majority of them didn't work. You need to understand the ones that did. And, you know, I can't believe it sometimes when I audit people's accounts and I think that ad was an absolute stonker. Why did you turn it off? And they didn't realize it was. So my question is, you know, if you don't realize a good ad when you see it, it's like you were getting the leads. Why did you turn it off? And I suppose for sometimes it's fear, isn't it, of spending money. They don't really know what they're doing. So they sort of put their toe in, they go half in. And with that, you never get that much traction anyway, because you don't feed Facebook enough data to be able to work on your behalf.
Yeah.
And that's a killer when you do that. You know, you've got to go all in. You're either running Facebook ads or you're not. Don't just run something for 2 days and then say Facebook ads don't work. I mean, no, they don't if you run them like that. Absolutely not. But yes, you have to be prepared that a lot of stuff won't work. It won't. I don't work with people for less than 3 months now, because it can take that long to find out what's working. You know, and then when I have, you can go, like you said, like gangbusters, but can I guarantee a result straight away? No, absolutely not. I can't control Facebook, but I know how to approach something I always think, well, if I can't make this work, it can't happen. It just won't.
So we were down in our London office a few months ago, and we use a shared space in Bloomsbury, and I was chatting to Matt, who's my business partner, and we're talking about how we run Facebook ads for people, to someone who was sat beside us, and they said, I've tried Facebook ads, they don't work. And I was like, well, how much have you spent on it? And they're like, £14 on an ad. Like, well,
yeah,
that's crazy. That is, I know. Close.
Yeah, it's like, do you know what? If you could spend £3 a day, don't you think we'd all be doing it?
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. Yeah, I do get quite frustrated when you see these people saying, oh, how to fill up your pipeline on $1 a day or something. It's like, maybe you can do that when you've had a year's worth of data and you're so busy that you're just on tick over mode. Yeah, maybe you can spend $1 a day. But in reality, you've got to spend a bit of money to, and understand what the lifetime value of your customers is.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that, then how do you know how much you should be spending to acquire one?
If you're selling personal training package and it costs $1,000, you should be spending at least $3,000 to test that, so that it gives you enough data to find out what's working.
Exactly.
It's basically 3 times whatever the cost of what you're selling is.
Yeah, I mean, I have done it on a lot less, but to be honest, have I repeated that month after month for them? No, can't be done.
Yeah.
Can't be done.
You find you might get success early on, and
that's exactly what happened.
And then you can't replicate it, and you're like, well, I don't know why this was successful.
And what happens is, Liam, is that they think, oh, well, I didn't spend very much and it did work, so I don't want to spend any more. And it worked that time. If you think you can get cost per leads in for £3 and then convert them to high-end packages, transformational programs, which a couple of grand, that's not going to work every time. If it was, we'd all be throwing money at Facebook, wouldn't we?
Yeah, sometimes you hit home run really early and you become a victim of your own success and you can't replicate it, and then the client thinks that you're not any good anymore.
I know, I've had that, and it's just it was almost like a fluke. It wasn't because you knew. It's not as if you went in with a fluky approach.
Yeah.
It's just that maybe not a lot of people were advertising at the same time.
Yeah.
Could be as simple as that. You're not competing in the auction process in the same way that you would another time. Your CPM was driven down. You know, we had relevancy scores of 10, all the stars aligned. Can't be done. Can't be done.
Yeah.
Time and time again. Real shame, but that's the reality of Facebook. You do need to have skin in the game.
You do need to have skin in the game, and I don't think enough small businesses really understand that.
No.
Do you know what? This has been so cool today. I want to wrap up by asking you a couple of questions. So
okay,
I'm going to put you on the spot.
I'm unprepared.
You are unprepared for this. So can you recommend a book, or I'm going to let you off a little bit, a book or a learning resource that you can recommend to people? It doesn't have to be necessarily Facebook ads. It can be anything.
A book, not necessarily on Facebook ads.
Doesn't have to be.
Do you know, the book that I read recently that I loved was called The Big Leap. And it's about understanding your zone of genius and stepping into that and getting your business going, or your life going in the direction that you want, instead of trudging around in the weeds, wishing things were different, not actually doing anything about it. Up here somewhere.
Is the front cover a goldfish jumping out of a goldfish?
You know, I can't see it now. That's really annoying. He's got a name like Gay something. It's quite a strange name.
I'll get the guys to put it in the show notes. But
I loved that book. I love all those journeys of personal discovery.
Yeah. Stories and journeys.
Exactly.
This is what it's all about.
Yeah, and I found it inspiring. And do you know what? You know, I read that and I started to think about my own business and what I needed to be doing. And I made some big changes. You know, I started looking at how I can scale my agency side. I brought in my online program, and it was a result of reading that and drilling down into what is my zone of genius? What do I enjoy doing? And it's been transformational in how my business has grown in the last 6 months even.
Okay, last question, and then I'll let you go because I know you're busy. Where can we find you?
I am on Facebook as Emma Van Heusen, consulting agency, not my personal profile. You'll see me there. I have a Facebook group called the Facebook Adcelerator, Adcelerator, highly engaged group, all about Facebook ads, and you'll see that linked from my business page.
Put that in the show notes as well.
And my website, which is just in the middle of being redone because it's old and unloved, I'm not going to lie. And actually, I've been so busy, I haven't really been using it as a acquisition, which is fabulous.
This is a classic case of the cobbler's children not having any shoes.
I know. It is. It's emmavanh.com. But yeah, I'd love to connect. Come and say hi to me. I'm very friendly. I don't bite.
Cool.
And my group, I offer loads of free advice. I do a hot seat. I did one this morning, which is where I'll sit down with someone on a Zoom call for half an hour and troubleshoot for free for 30 minutes to help them. And then I share it in the group and everyone learns from that. And that's the best way of learning is to
That's a great offer. That is a great offer.
Yeah, I do that once a month. It's like the hottest ticket in town, apparently. And I love doing it. It's Liam, I've had such a lovely time. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
This has been a pleasure and great fun. So yeah, thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week for episode 9. This has been the Fitness Business Authority podcast. Take care. Bye.
Bye.